G-O-G-I, G-O-G-I, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. G-O-G-I, G-O-G-I, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. G-O-G-I, G-O-G-I, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. G-O-G-I, G-O-G-I, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. G-O-G-I, G-O-G-I, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. G-O-G-I, G-O-G-I, GOGI Company.
Boss of my brain makes me to be in control of my actions of every day. And using the smart part of my brain is to live my day as I wish to live it today.
I was impulsive, I had anger issues, and I never took control of my life. And once I was introduced to GOGI, it gave me the opportunity to take control of my life, and I've been doing it since 2016, and I'm a different person than I was 2 years ago.
My favorite tool that I like is bossing my brain, only because on certain matters, I can choose to either use the smart part, emotional part, or the old habit, you know. And nowadays, I'm using the smart part.
My favorite tool would probably be bossing my brain, because once you know you have independent thoughts, then you control your actions.
I wrote a little something about bossing my brain. For me, this tool was the key to open up the door to take control of my decision making, no matter any situation. Once I knew I was the boss of my thought process, with practice of bossing my brain, I became more responsible of my actions by using my smart part. And when my emotions got in the way, I put them to the side. To me, my emotions and my opinions on how I feel don't count if they're not positive ones. My poor decisions always happen because of my old habits. It was the easy way out. It was the easy way to handle things. And when this tool taught me how to change my old habits into positive ones by practicing every day, I started to understand my power to take control of my decision making. And I also started seeing the possibility of finding my eternal freedom and becoming the best me I could be.
My favorite tool is bossing my brain. I think that at one time I didn't have control over things that I have control over right now. The other thing is that I'm learning to be my own boss and not worry about what other people are thinking or saying about myself or other people. I was a shy person, but a violent one. And being the boss right now, it allows me to talk to people and to make friends that I want to have.
Bossing my brain was the first tool I did. I was lucky enough that on the calendar, I experienced the first tool in the right order, and it made sense to me. When we start thinking about smart part, emotional part, old habit part, those were functions of my brain. And then when you start thinking about your mind being a business and someone else controlling that business, not cool. Nobody wants somebody else controlling your business, getting your money, controlling your success or failure. Those are serious things that people from our background kind of relate to. So for me, GOGI is influential in my life. It puts it in a sense where I can drop the walls, I can be honest, I can realize that the old way, the old habit part was a drug addict, was a criminal, a liar. But once I realized that it wasn't completely my fault, that it was the background, it was the circumstances of life, it gives you a chance to kind of realize that you're just acting out of emotion. That's the emotional part of you doing what you've always done because you don't know anything different. And the new part is what you can take from GOGI. It's what you want to learn. That's why we show up every week. That's why we acknowledge each other. When we're out on the yard, when we're interacting with other people, it's not a bad thing to talk about personal recovery.
Boss Brain is my favorite tool because there's 3 elements to it. You have the old part, emotional part and your new part. And I had to get rid of my old part because I was a negative person once upon a time. And with dealing with the emotions, you become a reactionary and don't use your brain when you're making decisions. So I had to form a new part of myself to make positive decisions. And with using the boss of my brain, I've been able to make my own decisions how I want to make them. And that's what being a real boss is doing what you want to do, how you do it, and don't let nobody influence your decisions. So with GOGI, it taught me a lot.
My favorite tool is Boss of My Brain. It helps me make better choices.
Boss of My Brain allows me to use the smart part rather than the old habit part, make wiser decisions.
My favorite tool is Boss of My Brain. And the reason I love Boss of My Brain is because in my past, I was never the boss of my brain. I allowed the negative situations and negative thoughts control my actions and dictate my life, you know. And with the boss of my brain, they have the three parts: smart part, emotional part, old habit part. And I allowed my old habits and my emotional part get the best of me. You know, I wouldn't have been able to do it without GOGI. And that's why I love Boss of My Brain, because it lets me know that I'm always gonna be the boss of my brain. I'm the bomb, you know? So that's why I love Boss of My Brain. And I love GOGI, and I'm gonna do GOGI for the rest of my life.
My favorite tool is Boss My Brain. Over my life, I haven't gotten the idea of I'm in control of my brain. You know, I control the outcome of everything. I've always thought of myself as being pre-programmed as a child to be something that I'm really not. With the tool of Boss My Brain, I've found out that I don't have to use my past. I can go on with my future with a new way of thinking.
Boss of My Brain is the best tool because nobody can put thoughts in my head. Only I can make the choice that I want.
My favorite tool is Boss of My Brain. When I started exercising the smart part of my brain, it helped me reconnect to the normal, being a normal person. I realized I love education. I'm currently pursuing a college degree, you know, and just reconnecting with my children. I actually sent them some GOGI books because I always think about the question in there, you know, if you had this book when you was younger, would it have been a different outcome? And I realized the old habit part of my brain, it kept me in trouble. It's what led to my bad decision making in the emotional part. Once I gained control of those two, things really went different for me. And I'm continuing to practice GOGI for life.
My favorite tool is Boss of My Brain. Being in charge of my brain makes me make better decisions when negative situations occur. I don't let my emotional or my old habits take effect of the positive decisions I got to make in that situation.
Hi, I'm Coach Taylor, and guess what? I'm in the Warden's conference room. Yep, this is the Warden's conference room. And you know, we talk a lot about programming. We talk a lot about our GOGI students. We actually ask our GOGI students what they think, but what we don't do is we don't talk to the captains on the yards about what they think about all of this. So guess what? We are in the Warden's conference room right now, and we are talking to the captains at High Desert State Prison about what is their perspective on all these changes with prisons, and what is their opportunity, what are their responsibilities, what is the burden of having everybody programming. So stay tuned, stay right here. We're going to be talking to some captains of High Desert State Prison right now here in the Warden's conference room. Captain Grether, I'm so grateful. I know you're busy out on your yard. You've got a lot of things you're doing, so thank you for coming here and agreeing to answer some questions. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me here.
What is your yard?
I'm on Facility B.
On B yard?
Yes.
And how is B yard different from maybe another yard that you may have been assigned to?
I was previously on Charlie Yard, on C Yard, which is a level 4, 180 general population yard. It was EPF, and now it's just, they get rid of the EPF program, so now Facility B is a level 4, 270 SNY. So that's the sensitive needs yard for the inmates that choose to try to program and do their own time and go home.
So these are guys that they want to go home. They want a program. They're putting a lot of stuff aside. They're saying, I'm done with the nonsense. I want to get my GED. I want to get out of here. I want to get a job. I want to be a good neighbor. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Well, what an awesome opportunity for you to have that.
Correct. Yeah.
So when you got to this yard, coming from another one, were you surprised at the different programs that were offered? Or?
Well, I had been on Facility B as a lieutenant prior to promoting to captain and going over to Facility C. So it's definitely different than when I was over there in 2012.
Really? How so?
There wasn't the rehabilitation like there is now. We had very few. We just had some of the standard rehabilitative programs, and now there's so many. It's hard to keep track. It really is. There's so many programs.
And from a custody perspective, I know if I was a custody officer and I grew up with CDCR or any corrections department, and this is how we did what we did, and we just did what we did. Now all of a sudden they're saying program. I think that would be a little difficult for me to adjust to. How do you have rules and regulations, you have protocols, now all of this is changing. How many of the officers do you think this is a really difficult challenge for them, and how many are saying this is actually a good thing?
You know, from the start, it was difficult for a lot of staff. I did 14 years at the California Correctional Center right down the hill from High Desert. So that was a lower level security. So I was a little more familiar with the programs. But up here as a level 4 institution, high security, it's difficult for the inmates who were trying to we get to do this, and how's it going to help me? And the staff are the same way. It's kind of kind of difficult for them to, like you said, with custody and security, and all of a sudden now these guys are doing rehabilitative and self-help groups. It's a little bit different for these officers to adjust to that. It really is.
And for me, if I'm thinking I'm a corrections officer or I'm an inmate, and maybe I've been in SHU a long time, and now I'm here on this yard, and I'm thinking programming. My head's spinning. What does that mean for me? And then if I'm an officer, my head's spinning. Programming. What does that mean for me? To me, it feels like it would be like a perfect time for collision.
Yes.
You know, because you have different perspectives, different interpretations, not a lot of clarity. But really, I haven't seen, and I've been here at High Desert now since we launched Innovative Grants, I have not seen the clash between custody and inmates that I thought I would experience. I've actually seen more respect for the officers from the inmates and more support for programming from custody. Is that your experience as well?
Yes, it
yes?
is.
How did that magically happen? Because you have two colliding forces, opposing forces, now that are somehow linked and collaborative. That's fascinating to me.
It really is hard to try to comprehend how these officers and inmates have come together as far as the programming.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It really is. I was amazed. Having the lower level experience that I have, it was normal for me.
Right.
But coming up to High Desert,
Right.
we always heard the stories of High Desert, you know,
Well, this was the end of the line. I mean, High
Yes.
Desert was,
Yes.
if you failed everywhere, you were sent to High Desert.
Correct.
That's kind of on the streets, the reputation is High Desert, really? Who did you piss off?
Well,
you know?
yeah, and being from CCC, that all the inmates knew that they wanted a program down there because they knew what was, you know, the High Desert was right up the hill, and they didn't want to come to a level 4 institution.
Right.
The officers and the inmates have just gone along really well. I've witnessed on our audio video surveillance system where officers and inmates are talking, not walking by, ignoring each other.
That never would have happened.
No, they're now communicating, and I've witnessed it myself. And it's being at my level, I'm not out on the line all the time.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
Seeing it on video, I was actually amazed. I watched it this week, as a matter of fact,
Great.
an officer communicating with an inmate.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
It was amazing. It really was.
Yeah, and that sort of collaboration allows the officer and the inmate. GOGI's kind of lucky because we get to watch all this happen. You know, we
Right.
come in and we get to watch this happen. But it allows that collaboration that's going to prepare the inmate to go home and realize, you know, safety and security, they're going to want it for their homes. And so that collaboration with law enforcement and kind of a collaboration to make our neighborhoods safe is really...
That's huge.
Yeah, it's starting here, which I think is very fascinating.
It is. It really is. You know, it's, if you look at throughout our nation, the violence on the streets and the violence with criminals and police officers, I think is a big push for us here at High Desert, because these guys are going home.
Yeah.
Prop 57 and everything else, everybody's has an opportunity to go home.
Yeah.
And so, me personally, and this is what I preach when I'm on the yard, is if you can help one person, you know, be a better person, one man on this yard be a better person, it's going to be better for us on the streets.
Yeah.
And these guys parole and they live in our neighborhoods.
Right.
You know, so this really is a good thing.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, I know, just as an aside, that you aren't real big on cameras and videos and stuff like that. But how do you think this video went? How do you think this interview with us went?
Really good.
Do you think there's something else that you would want the people to know? Would you want other officers to know, or prisoners, or the families? A lot of families of High Desert prisoners are going to be watching this and saying, wow. Would there be any message that you would want to give to anyone about what you see is the direction of corrections?
Rehabilitation is possible. It really is. Everybody needs to have the opportunity to change and to prove that they can change. Not just, the inmates are proud, you know, of their certificates, of every one of them preach to me what they've accomplished with all their certificates.
Really?
Yeah, it is. It's a huge, and GOGI's number one.
GOGI's number one? Have they shown you the GOGI dance yet, though?
No.
Okay, so they're not totally GOGI unless they're brave enough to get out there.
I have not seen it yet. I might have to ask now.
How about the GOGI choir? You haven't heard them singing GOGI?
I have not heard that either.
Okay, well, at the very least, you should have them do their GOGI pledge for you, because it's a pledge of service to communities. As we prepare these inmates to go home and become our neighbors, we want them to focus on being the solution in their neighborhood. Not just worrying about themselves, but really taking care to make sure that their neighbors and their neighborhood are clean and supportive and collaborative, and that there's understanding. So make sure they say the pledge, and when you listen to that pledge, you can see that we are pledging them to a life of service, which is kind of cool.
That is cool.
That's the kind
really
of neighbor
good.
I want.
Yes, me too.
Captain, thank you so much. I know you got to get back to your yard. You got a lot of programming going on.
I do.
We're going to be out there a little bit later on today, so we'll come in and say hi.
All right, I'll see you out there.
Thank you very much, Captain.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
GOGI, GOGI, GOGI company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI company.
I've been through a lot of trials. I found myself in the hole. I found myself in different positions, and I've been very, very, frustrated at times. And one of the tools that's helped me the most has been belly breathing. I've been in that cell where, I just want to wild out, it's just kind of lose control a little bit. But the tools always come to mind, and belly breathing has just helped me the most. Every time I find myself in that position where I just want to be on the door, or I just can't wait for the door to open so I could get out and get in trouble, I've taken the time and put my hand on my chest and one on my belly and pretty much kind of, meditated and thought about the consequences to my actions. And it's given me a lot of clarity, and I would just have to say that belly breathing has taken me a long way within these 3 years. I find it a great help. And I suggest everybody, to try belly breathing, because it will help you when in a time of need.
My favorite tool is belly breathing. The reason why I like belly breathing, because I'm very impulsive. I suffer from what I call reactionary emotionalism. At any minute, smallest thing can tick me off. I've been like that all my life. But when I belly breathe, I'm able to get clarity. I'm able to process things analytically as well as critical. And it's like playing chess. I'm able to think 5, 6, 7 moves ahead in the process of belly breathing. Without belly breathing, in all honesty, I probably would have snapped yesterday because I had an issue with the correctional officer, and I probably wouldn't be on this yard as a result of belly breathing, because my impulsiveness got me removed from from the GP. I got packed out by my own people. I did 13 years in the SHU as a result of acting on impulse. But because of belly breathing, when I breathe, somehow the blood and the oxygen, all that stuff flows, and I'm able to be my original self and be able to think and process and make the proper decisions, even at the spare of the movement, prompt, snap. And I'm able to assess that, and I'm able to walk away with it, and as a result, I haven't had a violent write-up in like 8 years. And the board told me if I keep doing what I'm doing next year, they're gonna let me go. So that's why I like belly breathing.
Favorite tool? I have actually a couple of them, but one is, as I'm a little bit more familiar with it, it's belly breathing. I took up meditation about 25 years ago, and one of the first techniques you learn in meditation is to breathe real deeply. And I brought that because it helped me in the chaos of prison.
My favorite tool is belly breathing. I just take deep breaths when I get angry and think back and don't get mad no more. I used to get mad a lot, and since I got been in the group, it helped me calm and collected and not walk around with so much anger in me since I've been in this group, and they helped me out a lot.
My favorite tool would be belly breathing. There's a lot of negativity and certain things that happen, and it's frustrating. So by belly breathing, it does help me relax and think clearly. And I would recommend it for everybody.
GOGI, GOGI, don't become this, I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, don't become this, I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, don't become this, I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, don't become this, I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, don't become this, I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, don't become.
I've been doing GOGI for almost 2 years now, and one of my favorite tools when I first started was 5-second light switch, because I was a very impulsive person. I didn't think ahead, I didn't think about my actions or the consequences of my actions, and every time I left my cell, I wanted to go do the negative things. So I started using 5-second light switch to do something positive. Instead of going to the negative circles, I used to go to the positive circles. And 5-second light switch helped me become boss of my brain, so that I don't let the emotional part or the old habit part get in control of me. So I like to use the smart part of my brain. So 5-second light switch has helped me use all the GOGI tools, because I got that 5 seconds to figure out what tool I need for what situation that I'm in. So that's my favorite tool is 5-second light switch.
In particular, I like tools of the body. The 5-second light switch is a tool that I've gravitated towards more because of the old action, new thought. And the path of GOGI, I think it's been real positive for me. It's, with that tool in particular, it's helped me to change my old way of thinking. And when I am confronted with any type of violence or anything.
The GOGI tool that helped me was dealing with a lot of patients was 5-second light switch. So it's the old thought, kick it off with a new action. And then the patience that kicks in is like not reacting on an old thought, hit it with a new positive thought.
My favorite tool is 5-second light switch. You know, all my life people would say stuff to me, try to be funny, or try to put me down, and I would sporadically say stuff back, not caring who it was, and it got me into a lot of trouble. So now that I found GOGI, or GOGI found me, I learned how to deal with that 5-second light switch, and it got me through a lot. When I hear somebody say something derogatory towards me, I count in my head 5 seconds and let the tool take effect. And I just think of something else and just walk away. Replace it with a positive action, and don't let my old stuff take over. Get a lot less trouble, and I make a lot more friends.
I've been incarcerated since I was 18 years old. I'm 45 years old now. Been in and out of the SHU ever since I've been in prison. This is the first program I ran into that helped me out. I'll have to say my favorite tool would be a 5-second light switch. Helping me get rid of my old habits. Give me new ways of dealing with situations now. And making a big change right now because of this program. It's a positive program, and I really appreciate it.
My favorite tool is probably also the 5-second light switch, because I used to be impulsive, or just react to things without thinking. So
my favorite tool is 5-second light switch. The reason I like 5-second light switch because all my life I've been, I used to be a very impulsive person. But 5-second light switch has shown me that I can make a negative situation into a positive action real quick. And I'm just glad to say that I can walk away from any negative situation. Thank you.
5-second light switch. If you get into a situation, you could just count to 5, put your decision in your positive action, and take action on something good that you want to do, and you avoid the negative.
5-second light switch because I have a quick temper, so it gives me time to really think about what the situation is and the reasons why I shouldn't do what I'm finna do, or what I want to do, basically. Sometimes you don't think before you react. You just react. And 5-second light switch, along with the tools of the body, is what you really need in that particular situation. Because I use all 3 of those at the same time. Because I have to use boss in my brain. I have to breathe, and I have to think about why I shouldn't do what I'm finna do. And once I come up with those scenarios, usually the outcome is a positive decision. I come up with something positive to do, whether it's to walk away and go talk to somebody about it, get it off my chest, or whether it's to walk away and come back later and tell the person that be the bigger man and apologize for the situation. But that's my favorite tool because of that. And it allows me to think about the people that I need to get home to. If I don't use that, I won't make it, through the next day.
Hi, it's Coach Taylor again, back at High Desert State Prison with our interviews with the captains. And I've just got news that we're going to have other interviews to tag onto this, so other administrative executives, so I'm so happy about that. And our captain really kind of let us know that custody is really on board with what we're doing with rehabilitation, which is exciting. Now we have another captain, so we're going to cut to another interview. And I think you're going to find really, really fascinating all the things that are going on at High Desert State Prison, which is actually, in my mind, the direction corrections is going to go across the United States. Captain Lane, thank you very, very much. I know you're busy. You have a busy yard. You have a lot to do, but you took out the time to. It might be a half a mile away from, you have to walk a half mile to be here in this conference room, and I really appreciate your time. I know you've got a lot of things to do. You captains, you work a lot of long hours, and many more hours than really I think you clock in at. You spend a lot of time making certain that your yards are operating optimally. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Many more than your hours, 24 hours you're on this.
Yes.
And how long have you been a captain?
A few months. So 3 months.
So it's new for you?
Yes.
And you come into being a captain when there's this huge, massive push for programming.
Yes.
What is that? How does that complicate the duties of a captain?
I was formerly a correctional counselor 3 for the prison.
Oh gosh, really?
So, yes.
So you were a CC3, so you're used to sitting down with the prisoner and building plans and looking at rehabilitation.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
So the rehabilitative part of the job is I've seen a lot of progress in the last few years, and I think it's coming a long way with our department.
It's interesting that a CC3 could actually now be a captain. I don't know. I've been with the department providing programming as a volunteer since 2005. I don't think I've ever heard of a CC3 actually making it to a captain, because a CC3 really is more about programming
Yes.
than corrections. But here you are, a former CC3, and now you are a captain of an entire yard.
Yes.
I think that's remarkable. That, to me, what that says is the department is really looking at permitting individuals the opportunity for change. Would you say that's correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, I think that the department's definitely recognizing that we need to make some solid changes, and we've been making those changes. And the department's, from when I started, it was a tough department. But now we have a different focus, a different mission, and that mission is to ensure not only to ensure custody issues and protecting the lives of our communities and our state, but it's also to prepare inmates for the day they are released. And I think we're making solid efforts at this point in time.
Here's the problem as I see it. Yesterday we were here on all the yards. There was one yard with 4 alarms, 4 codes, 4.
Right.
How can an officer feel like, I want to invest my time in rehabilitation, when there's codes going off all the time? This happened, this fight happened. How can you reconcile in your mind when you have 4 codes, and that's just not like a minor thing, that's somebody's getting hurt, and you still are mandated and actually excited about programming inmates? How can you reconcile that in your mind?
Unlike a police officer, okay, a correctional officer's job is very, very tough. You have to get to know inmates. You have to relate to inmates. So even though we have the custody side to where we have to deal with the alarms and the violence, we also have the other side of our mission, is to ensuring that we're meeting the goals of the department and assisting inmates in preparation for parole. And the reason why we do that is because it makes our state better. When they're released and they go out and they become a productive citizen, get a job, they're no longer a drain on the system.
Right.
We're sending productive people back out to the states, to our state, and to our cities, and to our communities. And so we have a dual role in the state of California. Our department's basically the major player in that. And I actually enjoy what we're doing.
Do you really?
Yeah.
You well, coming from a CC3, but are you unique, or are most of the officers saying, actually, this is kind of interesting? Are they slowly?
We're getting a lot of buy-in.
Really?
And, yeah, and well, this is the thing. Idle hands do the devil's work, correct? So the busier you keep inmates, the more productive that you keep them going, the less violence we have. And even though we have violence, it really has kind of curved. And so we're starting to see progress on our yards. And inmates' attitudes are changing, okay? Because 7 years ago, 8 years ago, inmates had no hope. They had a life sentence, right?
And if you have no hope, why not beat somebody up?
Right? And the common saying was, well, he's a lifer. What does it matter if he stabbed another guy? Right? Why should we even prosecute him, because he's staying here anyways?
I see.
Now, I get to deal with inmates daily, and their attitudes are, hey, you know what? And it's funny, because these guys have been down 20, 30 years, and they're like, hey, I have a shot. If I keep trying and putting myself a step forward, okay, making change for myself, it's a possibility I'll get a date, right? I had an inmate off my yard mention something about, what was it, 10 steps forward, 2 steps back, you still got 8 steps forward, right?
That's a GOGI tool.
Okay, right? And
That's our GOGI reality check.
I was like, what? And it made sense to me. I was like, hey, that's great, man. That's actually, I get it, 8 steps forward, okay?
Yes.
So they are actually
wow.
taking to heart what's being put out in our ILTAG groups. And
that's awesome.
this is the thing. we have inmates that want to change, and we have inmates that don't want to change. So the inmates that have hope and actually see a light at the end of the tunnel, they're actually changing their attitudes, okay?
Mhm.
And if they really want to change, they will, right?
Yeah.
So it takes that person to individually buy in and want to be part of something bigger, and instead of that lifestyle. And when you're willing to buy in and you make more effort, you'd be
You're gonna
surprised
see
at
the
the outcome.
rewards.
Yep.
Yeah. Why do you think it is that even with GOGI, we have a lot of LWOPs that love GOGI? They don't yet have hope to go home.
Well, no, they do.
Okay, okay.
They do. So last year, the governor had sent out a list asking for 10 inmates,
Uh-huh.
including life without inmates,
Oh.
to be recognized by the governor and have their sentence commuted.
Wow. Wow.
Or drop down to life with the possibility.
What
And
do the corrections officers feel about that? Do they feel like, wait a second, you're giving guys off? Are they stuck in that old mind frame that they just pretend that they're changing? Or are they really seeing that change is possible?
This is the thing. Back to the buy-in, right?
Yes.
So the inmates that actually see, even the ones with life without, say, hey, there's actually a possibility I could walk out those gates one day. They stop doing the things that they're not supposed to be doing. They're like, hey, I don't want any part of that stuff. And I'm just going to sit back over here and do my time, and I don't want to go home.
But just like your guy that said his GOGI tool reality check, 10 steps forward, 2 steps back, I'm still 8 steps ahead. So
Yep.
even when there are making mistakes, do you think they're getting their footing and back on the right track earlier instead of tossing in the towel?
No, I think the buy-in's still new, okay? But they're starting to see progress because they're starting to see inmates get out of prison that weren't ever going to get out.
I see.
So when you take one inmate and the word spreads like wildfire,
Yes,
hey, he really did get out, okay? The effect on the population's like, I might want to curve any type of violence
I see.
because that's one thing that's looked at.
Yeah.
It's all the way across the board. If we make a recommendation, the governor's office reviews what he's done while he's in prison.
I see.
And if he's continuing to choose to go down this violent path, it's going to be a denial across the board.
Right.
But if he shows the last 10 years, he's had 115, he's got all these chronos that are saying he's going out of his way, he's volunteering for programs, he's being an advocate for veterans groups or GOGI or a leader,
Right.
and getting letters from different groups.
Yeah.
Those are the things they need to have, okay? And they also need to have support on the outside so when they're preparing for parole,
Right.
that they're set up and so they can get right out. They need to provide proof that they got a job and they have a house, stability, but this is where the door opens. They got to
Right.
make the positive changes.
And coming from a CC3, you know all those steps.
Yep.
You absolutely know all the steps. So it's awesome that they would see that your skill set, your corrections background, but your CC3 understanding of the big picture allows you to be in the position that you're in. We're so grateful for being able to be welcomed here by your warden and supported like we are. And the captains have just been across the board. Whatever you need to get this programming to these inmates, we're willing to do it. So we want to thank you because we walk onto a yard and always custody's there. What do you need? How can we help? And they'll ask about the programs or ask about the tools. Tell me a little bit more about what they're learning. So our experience when we walk onto your yard, everyone is absolutely engaged.
Right. I actually, I was on the yard the other day, and I was ear hustling. How about that? I was listening to some inmates on the patio talk, and they were actually talking about using GOGI tools, and I'm like,
really?
What are they talking? And no, don't get mad. You got to use.
Belly breathing, boss of my brain,
light
5-second light
5
switch.
second light switch. You got to be the boss of your brain. Old habit, new action, right? And it was
makes
like,
me happy.
what is he talking about? I was like, wow, right on.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe it's working.
Awesome, awesome. Well, the more we reduce incidents, the more we get that kind of talk, the more we get the officers speaking with the inmates, I think we have an awesome collaboration. GOGI collaborates with the prisoner to prepare them, but even more so, GOGI collaborates with custody because we want this to be a solid community collaboration so that when these inmates are released, they can see you in the mall and thank you. And you can look at them and say, good guy, he made it.
Before I came to the Department of Corrections, I was a probation officer, right?
Oh, wow.
And I worked with juveniles, right? And it's funny you said that because, so this guy's walking down my street, and I'm in the house, and my wife answers the door, knock at the door, and he's selling these coupons for this adventure park in Visalia, California, right? And he's selling these coupons, and my wife's like, "Hey, come over here, Tony, and look at these are pretty good coupons." And I was like, "All right." He goes, "Oh my God, probation officer Lane, right?"
No,
and I
are
was
you
like,
kidding?
I was like, "What do we do? Do we shut the door or what?"
Yes,
right?
yes.
And he goes, "No, man." He goes, "Listen." He goes, "I'm doing so much better." He goes, "This is a part-time job that I take for, you know."
Wow.
He goes, "I got a full-time job. I'm taking classes online. And he goes, "My life's so much better. I'm telling you, I'm doing great. I got a wife and a kid." And
Oh, that's beautiful.
I was like, and my wife's looking at me like, "Okay, is this weird?" But
Yes,
I'm like, "Good, man." You know, that's
awesome.
And then so every year after that, he came back
to sell you more coupons.
yeah, and he's like, "Oh man, I got promotion at my job," you know, and so
wonderful.
Rehabilitation happens.
Yeah, awesome.
It takes the person to do it, though. You know?
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you personally. I know what you do out on your yards. I know you bend over backwards. You have all this custody responsibility, but you and your entire team bends over backwards to make sure that these men get as much GOGI as they want. And by the sounds of it, they're talking GOGI on your yard, for which I'm very grateful.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Captain. We'll let you go take care of our guys. We'll be out there a little bit later today.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company.
At a time when we were trying to get out of the shoe. We were going through some hunger strikes, and I needed some kind of strength, some kind of support, and the books really helped me out. I think the tool that helped me out the most was positive thoughts. It got me thinking positive, got me thinking in the right direction. We finally made it out of the shoe, made it out here. I think everything's working out, and it's expanding, and it's a good program.
I've been down almost 22 years in a couple of months, and without positive thoughts in here, it would be kind of bad. You can easily get caught up in all this stuff by positive thoughts, so it leads to positive actions. And then by that, positive people around you. And that's how I came upon this group, being by positive people.
My favorite tool is positive thoughts, because no matter what situation I'm in, I try to think positive. So that helps me out with everything.
One of my favorite tools would be positive thoughts, probably, because I could wake up in a negative mood, and I just think positive thoughts after that throughout the day, and it helps my whole day become more positive, and therefore results in positive actions throughout my day.
My favorite tool is positive thoughts, because I think when you have positive thoughts and positive words and positive actions, it's just a natural response to those to that one singular tool. And I think when I'm thinking more positively, then I surround myself with those same kinds of people. I try not to think about negative stuff or have unnecessary negative people around me. Then and life just works out just a little bit easier that way when when you're doing that, you know, and I just try to go day by day with those same little tools and just take it one little step at a time and make the best out of every bad situation, you know.
Positive thoughts lets me look to the future and find things that I look forward to doing, or forward events, and it helps me in those times that we all get down on ourselves. We all have those days when we're not having a good time, or somebody has said something, or an event has happened. And positive thoughts lets me, kind of goes hand in hand with reality check in a way. It lets me look at what I have accomplished or what I'm trying to accomplish, and gives me that strength to move forward. And so, what I always say in a group is, positive thoughts leads to positive words, which leads to positive actions. And I'm trying to move to those actions all the time. I don't want to be set back. And so, for me, positive thoughts is one of the best things I can do to keep myself grounded and moving forward.
GOGI, GOGI, Golden Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, Golden Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, Golden Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, Golden Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, Golden Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, Golden Company.
Positive words are strong and powerful, and they can change the course of things. They can change someone's way of thinking, someone's action, and especially when you find yourself in a complicated situation, or you're faced with some type of challenge. And I think in being in prison every day, we're faced with different types of challenges. And I know one way that helps me overcome a lot of these challenges is just hearing positive words from the people that I surround myself with. And then me, myself, practicing the same thing and using positive words. And I think that right there gets me going in the right direction and keeps me moving forward and having the success that I've had since I started GOGI. So yeah, that's my favorite tool.
Whenever you give someone positive words, it can uplift them out of a hole. And we all live in a hole, as you know, we all do. And it's really hard to get out of that hole and change. And with GOGI, but using all the tools, I like all the tools, really, I like them all. But positive word, it gets me out, because I do write poetry very well, which is strange, but I'm not a good talker. And I think by using positive words, it will help me to be a better talker and help me to understand maybe his problem is worse than mine for that day. And if I give him a good word, then it's positive all the way around, and it makes your environment positive. And if we can have a positive environment here, the time will go by, and you guys that are doing life like me, I've been down for 28 years and straight, and it'll go by better if you have positive words for other people, and look at things in a more positive way instead of the old routine.
The tool that I like most of GOGI is positive words, because positive words could change the situation quick, and I use that as much as I can.
So we are back in the conference room of the Warden's office at High Desert State Prison. And we've had some wonderful interviews. We've got another wonderful interview coming up. So Captain Zampano is here, and he is going to be talking to us. We are really excited. So stay tuned, listen up, here we go. Thank you very, very much for setting time aside. In fact, as you were leaving, you were actually having somebody else do something for you because I think you're on a tight time crunch. And what I notice is that custody officers, you guys have a wonderful collaboration. You help each other out. You cover for each other. You help each other out. And what I've noticed with the department is that is happening also with custody and program providers. And in an interesting way, I'm actually even seeing that with custody, program providers, and the inmates, a far more collaborative or positive environment. Have you noticed that change in you've been a captain now for 4 years, so
Yes,
have you
ma'am.
noticed that change as well?
Yes, I have, and just a little history about myself. I've been at this institution for 22 years.
Oh gosh, no. You've been at High Desert?
For 22
When
years.
High Desert was the last stop, like the worst of the worst, when it was the dumping ground?
Yeah, at the time we were the newest institution, so of course we get a lot of the inmates that come in from other institutions, but from that time over the years, I've seen a lot of different progression and as we call it, the pendulum swinging in the department, and today I have noticed the change that you just spoke of. There's more positive programs than there ever has been, so I have definitely noticed a change.
But just providing a program is nothing. That's like going to the gym and standing outside and saying, I go to the gym every day.
Absolutely.
Are the prisoners actually taking advantage of the programs? It's one thing to offer it, but if you aren't going to go to the gym and work out, you're not going to have any improvements. Are the inmates actually engaging to a level where you think it may assist them when they're home?
Absolutely.
Really?
Not all of them are going to take advantage of what we offer, and we can't force them to take it. But there are many out there who embrace the programs and are serious about it, and you can see the changes in those people, and you can see the changes of the people that they're around. So it does make a difference, and as I said, we can't force them to these programs. If they choose to do it, that's great. And the ones that do choose to do it and they're serious about it, you definitely see a big change in them.
How you word this, Captain, is very interesting because you say we. There was a time in 2005, GOGI started volunteering, offering programming to CDCR prisoners. We came from federal institutions. So we started offering, but there was never a we. Custody was custody, programs was programs, but there was never a... I don't think a captain has ever said to me, we offer programming. The captain really was custody, and he kind of oversaw programming that was being offered. But how you word that is almost like custody is participating in the rehabilitation, the programming. Is that uncommon, or do most officers now believe that part of their mission and vision includes that rehabilitative aspect?
Well, this is a big change for the department, the rehabilitation that we have going on now. It's unprecedented. It didn't used to be that way. And of course, it takes a little while for mindsets to change. And I think with the succession of the programs or that we have at this point in time, custody staff are starting to see that it is making a difference. So the buy-in is getting stronger all the time.
So it's not a top-down, you will, but they're actually seeing it. So the buy-in isn't, I got to follow these orders, but I'm seeing some changes?
Well, and I'm not going to lie to you.
A little bit of both.
I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes there is those that push back a little bit, but eventually, they come around.
Wow.
And with the leadership, and not just my leadership, leadership of the management and the executive staff, lieutenants and sergeants, they start working on people, and we get the buy-in. And you definitely see now that we've been doing this for a while, with the new staff coming in, they're coming in with this. So that makes it a lot easier. They're learning about the rehabilitative programs when they come into the academy. So when they get here, they start seeing it. They're already in tune to it because they know about them. And that's a big change for the seasoned staff or the senior staff at the institution. Just like a lot of us, we had to get used to the change.
Sure.
And in my opinion, it really wasn't that hard to get used to because you see the positive effects.
Awesome. So what you're telling me is that in the academy, the new recruits, they're learning that, hey, part of your job is going to be to support these rehabilitative programming?
Yeah, and you know,
great.
in 2006, we changed to the Department of Rehabilitation, and prior to that, you know, we didn't have that. So even more so today, you know, they're not learning exactly what programs that we have, but the rehabilitative push is being preached in the academy.
That's great.
Which makes a big difference.
So when the new officers come in, they're already of the mindset that, oh, as a corrections officer, I'm supportive of rehabilitative programs.
You know, and our mission has changed from the way that it used to be.
Right.
So, and now the rehabilitative program is a big part of it.
But for you personally, 22 years at High Desert, I mean, that's when it opened, right?
Yes.
So you were here when
No inmates were here.
you were here when no inmates were, and you watched it fill up. You watched the evolution of this institution to now, actually, for our programming, there is no finer example of perfect GOGI than High Desert State Prison.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm the captain of Facility D, and we have a large following for the GOGI program.
Yes.
And a little history as well. Traditionally, the level 4 180s are very active, very violent, and you know, and I've seen that my whole career. And now with these rehabilitative programs coming in, I've noticed a change. Our violence on Facility D is decreased dramatically.
Really?
And it's awesome to see.
Wow.
You know, there's, and I'll give you an example. You know, there's more than just GOGI. There's a lot of programs that work on cognitive thinking.
Yes.
And I've actually witnessed a conflict between two inmates, a verbal. One of them was in GOGI, the other one was not. And normally, and I hate to say that, but a lot of times those end up in violence.
Yes.
The GOGI member utilized his tools and
Seriously?
de-escalated the situation, and now the other inmate that he was involved with is now in GOGI.
Oh my gosh.
So
incredible.
it makes a difference. The tools that they're learning, conflict management, it makes a difference.
Yeah. When we are working with our prisoners, it's not only about giving them the tools. What we tell them is they need to be the solution in their communities, and we have them model that. Would you say that that was a fine example of somebody that's actually following our mandate, which is don't just learn the tools for you. You need to be the solution in your environment. Would you say that, let's say those two guys are out on the street at the local 7-Eleven store. Do you think that that GOGI individual is more prepared to help de-escalate situations when they're in their home environment?
Absolutely.
Yes?
Absolutely.
Great.
And what I feel about the programs that we offer and GOGI is it changes their mindset from everything they grew up with.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of these guys grew up in some pretty hard neighborhoods, and they learned to survive the way that they had to learn to survive.
Sure.
And, you know, some of them weren't very nice people. And this actually changes their mindset to become the people that they need to be out in the community. So, yeah, I do believe it makes a difference.
There will be families of these inmates watching this on YouTube. There will be administration up in Sacramento watching this interview. Would there be anything that you would want to share that maybe you don't have an opportunity to say from your perspective, opening this place to what it is now? What would you like somebody to know from your vast experience of driving up Rice Canyon and coming in that same gate for 22 years? What would you like people to know?
Well, I'd like to say it's about time.
Really?
That we've got some of these programs, because I like the way the direction the department's going. I think they're doing the right thing by bringing in these programs, and you know, the progressive thinking that they're using today is awesome, and continue to do what we're doing.
Great.
Because I honestly do think it makes a difference for those who work inside, the inmates that live inside, and the community.
And for your career, now you're a captain now, what's the next step for you?
A correctional administrator, also known as associate warden.
An associate warden, and then finally you probably were to retire as a warden
We'll see what happens.
We would love you to be a warden, that's for sure. We need more wardens just like you.
Thank
so
you.
congratulations on being here and seeing this and supporting GOGI as much as you do. You let the guys out into the day rooms and they're doing their GOGI. You've got in-cell GOGI, in day room GOGI. You've got GOGI IL-tags, GOGI rack classes. Your yard has just blossomed as a community of GOGI, and we want to thank you for the support you've given.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All righty.
GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company.
My favorite tool is positive actions. I like positive actions because, well, being on a level 4 yard, I guess you got a lot of things to think about before you go out and hit a yard like this. So it's good to prepare yourself for a positive future. Keep it positive on the yard. You know, if you're in school, to keep a positive actions for when, you know, for studying, this, that, and the other. Positive actions also leads to positive thoughts, positive words, and basically a positive future. You think of a good positive actions and it'll lead you to a few good weeks, maybe a month, maybe better study habits for your GOGI book.
The tool that I like the most would probably be positive actions, because before most of my life, it's just going through life reacting to things, and if I start thinking about my next action and ask myself if it's powerful, positive, and productive, I tend to have way better, my actions are way better, and that's really going to help me in my future.
My favorite tool in GOGI is the 3 Ps, tools of choice, because the 3 Ps, it's about being positive, powerful, and productive. And since doing GOGI, everything that I've done is, you know, I would like to say it's pretty positive, pretty productive, and by helping people, it can become powerful, you know, and just, you know, it helps me get through my days, helps me, when I hopefully get released, be a productive citizen of society out there, and, you know, live a positive life.
Also the 3 Ps. So I think it's like a chain reaction. Start with a thought, word, and an action. And I feel that the way you portray yourself is how you're going to be treated. So if you throw that positivity out there, it'll come back to you. So
My favorite part of GOGI is tools of choice, positive action, positive thoughts, positive words. It is my favorite because I reflect on it every day. You have to have that attitude, whether you're in prison or whether you're outside, because every day is another opportunity to expand your life in search of greater things rather than just being in prison for the rest of my life. And I look forward to doing this every day because it helps me, and if it'll help me, then I can help the next man. And that's my favorite tool.
My favorite tools are tools of choice. I find the 3 Ps to be very helpful throughout my daily program. The 3 Ps have helped me a lot with mending relationships with my family. These are tools that I use on a regular basis here. This is the perfect environment for those types of tools, for that tool for me, because you know, you have to deal with certain individuals, and I find the 3 Ps are very helpful to me. For me, the 3 Ps cover all aspects of GOGI. Without the 3 Ps, there is no boss of the brain, there is no ultimate freedom. So the 3 Ps are my favorite tool.
Also the positive words. I've always been a believer in that, trying to bring people up just amongst this environment. There's a lot of negativity, you know what I mean, within your own group or whatever, you know what I mean. It's always better to bring somebody up instead of bringing them down, help them out.
GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by.
tool that I like the most is, it works with a lot of other tools, but it's claim responsibility, and it's not like it sounds, claim responsibility for, because the tool tells you to claim, you got to accept your past, but you got to claim responsibility for what you're doing now in the future. And since I'm a different person than what I used to be, a lot of these guards, they do know me. Some of these guys don't know me, but a lot of these guards do know me from the other yard. And I am a different person. Sometimes I lose track of that, and I get upset. But I use, as I said, I use the other tools too to go with it. But I got to claim responsibility for the actions that I do, so I shut myself down until I can control myself.
Hi, my name is Kirk Rivers. I'm a face of GOGI. My favorite tool is claim responsibility. When we use claim responsibility, it's not so much taking on the responsibility of past actions. It's actually just moving from this moment forward, taking charge of your responses, your opinions, your choices, your thoughts. Taking, how do they say it? They ask, so you ask yourself, I own today, am I proud of that choice? Yes, I am in charge of all my actions and reactions today. And, just being the best version of you that you can be, I want that for everybody. I think that could help that'll help a lot of even small things to bigger things. It's a good help.
My favorite tool is just like my brother Kirk Rivers, claim responsibility. When I got in touch with this tool, I started looking at my past and knowing that there was nothing in my past that I could change, but I could take responsibility for my past. It's my present and my future that I'm reaching out to now.
My favorite tool is claim responsibility. I choose claim responsibility as a favorite tool because it allows me to take control of today. I do claim responsibility for the past actions, but more so for today and the future. Part of my rehabilitation is to fundamentally change me from the inside out. I can do that with the tool claim responsibility. I ask the question every time I make a choice, am I proud of this action, and will it help me to become the person I want to be instead of the person of the past? That's why I choose the tool claim responsibility.
My favorite tool is claim responsibility because I tend to get hung up on the past and obsess about it, and a lot of my mistakes will begin obscuring any of the achievements that I've made. And so with claim responsibility, I can stop that and just be in the moment and then start looking forward rather than keep looking back.
Claim responsibility, once you learn the difference in the wording, it's not about looking to the past and saying, I'm responsible for that, but looking right here in the present, right? Don't worry about what you did. Focus on what you got going on right now. Take responsibility for what you produce and what you say and what you do today.
Hi, we're back in the Warden's conference room and we're doing interviews. We've heard a lot of wonderful things, but there's always challenges when you come into change. There's always some logistics that are problems. There always are challenges in everything we do. And I finally found somebody who's willing to talk to us about maybe some of the glitches in rehabilitation. What are the challenges? Where can we have some improvements? So I'm very, very grateful about our next interview. So stay tuned, watch it. I am so grateful that you are willing to kind of discuss with me some of the challenges and some of maybe the downside of all of this and some of the ways that we're going to be able to grow as we continue to offer rehabilitative programming. And when we were off camera, before we were rolling, you brought us up some really awesome points that I totally agree with. Most of our GOGI leaders they have friends with other GOGI leaders and GOGI students, and it's a GOGI community. But just on the peripheral is this layer of guys that never want to program. They don't want to do it. If they do want to program, they have an ulterior motive. You're on the yard every day. What are you seeing as far as guys who are sincere, really trying, and then those that are providing all this interference? What is your perspective on that, and how can we make it better so that that doesn't derail somebody's sincere efforts?
Well, my opinion is if we're truly into rehabilitation, that we need to identify and separate the inmates that are being incarcerated based upon their disciplinary history and their behavior. If we're talking about behavior-based models, which the department is, we need to separate those inmates to allow those who fit the category of, by their actions, of wanting to succeed, and they're enrolled in IL tags like GOGI and CGA and other things, that they have the opportunity to truly succeed with like-minded individuals.
If you were designing a system, which I absolutely think the department will have to go in that direction, put all programming individuals in one area and allow them to really program without interference, how would you determine that? Would you look at their C file and say, when was your last 115? How would you do that if you were to help create this system?
I think that would be part of the process, but I also think that you would have to probably have mental health involved in assessments of the individuals also, you know, as far as how they conduct themselves, because I don't think that you would want someone, just call them a programmer, someone who's, they can question things, but I don't think you want someone who's argumentative to the point of disrespect in a daily basis, because the inmates, having been assigned on B yard, I'm no longer assigned there, but being on that facility and having discussions with inmates who were locked up in security housing units and have maybe done bad things while they've been incarcerated. Some of them are lifers, some had long sentences. I found that their belief is that, and I agree with it, is that you can't have inmates who are problematic, who are disruptive, who don't care about doing good things and making changes, to have them around those other inmates on a daily basis is just, ultimately it's destructive, and it causes road bumps. It's hard sometimes for these individuals who are trying to apply GOGI principles or other ILTAG principles from CGA to get away from things, when someone who's only been incarcerated for 2 years basically is going to try to, quote unquote, punk somebody out who's been incarcerated for 25 years, who might be 45 or 50 years old, and someone who just rolled up is outright trying to create havoc for them or trying to take their property, when that person knows that if they do anything to that person,
they're in trouble.
You do have a core of inmates that want the opportunity to succeed, and they want their opportunity to change.
So they go through reception where they're supposed to be assessed. So whether or not they say, I'm SNY, put me on a yard that has privileges or not, they're supposed to go through reception where that is assessed. Their behavior is assessed and kind of they're placed. Is that not happening, do you think?
Oh, I think it's happening, but it's just happening on the criteria that the department has now. I think the criteria needs to be changed. Since the rehabilitation's been, placed on the patch, and it's been a departmental issue since 2006, 2007, that we're moving towards this.
We need more categories, more housing configurations.
I think so, because not everybody's, you can't cut everybody by the same cookie cutter, so to speak. They don't fit all into the same category. It's just like coaching kids in sports. You can have a set of team rules and you can coach kids, but you can't, one kid you might have to explain to them what you want them to do. Somebody else you might have to explain it and show them. Somebody else you might have to explain it, show them, and have them do multiple repetitions. So to me, it's the same way in communicating with inmates. They're all in different levels. You can't coach any one kid the same, just like you can't communicate to any one inmate the same way. They're all different. So to me, it goes to categorizing as to where they might fit and place them in areas where they might succeed based upon their behavior and willingness to do the right thing and to make changes.
So our yards now may have 900 guys on them. In my mind, if you say, oh, we have a problem, we need to kind of have smaller segments so like-minded individuals can be housed near each other, would something like be splitting a yard and this half is extremely well programming and then these are kind of not quite there, they're having some behavioral or respect issues?
I'd be fine with doing that for education, but I think vocation, you should have to be a programming inmate 100% to be in vocations, because then you're going behind a wall, which then is little bit
Right.
lower security, you know, and stuff. So, I mean, it's complicated, but there's a lot of people in Sacramento that are working on it. The bottom line is, if we're truly talking about rehabilitation, it's what are we going to do to allow the inmates who truly want, based upon their behavior, their actions, and their desire, what are we doing to help them succeed?
Well, I think your opinion is actually held by a lot of the prisoners, certainly from the GOGI leaders, the men that we've worked with when they were in Pelican Shoe for 20-something years. They rolled out of the shoe units. They're on a housing unit, and they're saying, wow, some of these guys just aren't ready for it. And they are trying to program, and these youngsters are coming in with all levels of disrespect. I think that a lot of the GOGI leaders are saying some of these guys just are not ready, and we don't want to be bothered with their nonsense. We would rather be focused with doing what we're doing. So I don't think that you're saying anything that a lot of the inmates are actually experiencing firsthand, they're living with.
It's meant to give more credibility to the inmates that are doing the right thing day in and day out, making the sacrifices, making the right choices through their personal actions, through their dialogue and communication with both inmates and staff, to truly reward them for doing the right thing. I mean, that's how the department has to look at it.
Do you think there's any hope that we're getting there? Do you think we're headed in the right direction?
I think there's a lot of positive signs. You know, I mean, let's reward those who are doing the right things, but by the same token, those that mess up, they need to be personally held accountable for their actions. I mean, that's
And what you're saying is that even these inmates who are meeting in this council are saying you've got to have some consequences.
They have, and the inmates that I've met with, I mean, they've been involved in whether it's GOGI, CGA, whether it's NA, whether it's lifers groups. They've been involved in things, trying to do the right things. They've been the one that's, quote unquote, turned the other cheek to the person that's half their age who's trying to disrespect them or trying to, you know, punk them out in some way.
Right.
You know, and it's just like, they understand it, I understand it, and I'm not saying it's easy to apply to come up with the perfect solution, but I think that we need to try to, the goal should be is to try to allow more inmates who truly want the opportunity to succeed, to put them in an environment where that can happen.
Where they don't have all the interference from those that aren't serious.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate your honesty.
Well, I'm known for my candor. So.
We love that. There you have it. Boy, was that awesome. Great insights from the captain, great interviews. A lot of things to really consider as you guys are sitting there watching this on your TV channels. Just know that everything changes. You've changed. You're not the same person you were 5 years ago. The department's changing, corrections changing, and GOGI's so happy to be a major part of that. Thanks for watching, and we'll come back with more wonderful videos for you to watch. Keep it GOGI, GOGI for life.
G-O-G-I, G-O-G-I, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. G-O-G-I, G-O-G-I, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. G-O-G-I, G-O-G-I, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. G-O-G-I, G-O-G-I, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. G-O-G-I, G-O-G-I, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. G-O-G-I, G-O-G-I, GOGI Company.
My favorite GOGI tool is Let Go for multiple reasons. Basically, you can use Let Go on the small stuff all the way up to the big stuff. Small stuff is like everyday irritations that you may have from a CO or from another inmate, where before I wouldn't let it go. I let it brew and brew and brew until I did something negative. And now I go back to my cell, I'm irritated, frustrated, I'll put it in my hand, squash it, toss it into the toilet, flush it down. And that physical act actually lets me let it go and just move on. And then the big stuff is like my frustrations, my angers, my sorrows from my childhood, from my dad leaving me, stuff like that. I didn't ever let that go, and it angered me. So that pain inside, I wanted to make everybody else feel that pain. Letting go of that has freed me to be positive at all times. Letting go of the old me, the person that I thought I was, a thug or whatever you may want to call it, where something happened to me, I had one reaction, one negative reaction. That's all I thought I could do. With Let Go, I'm a free man. I can choose a whole variety of positive things. And so Let Go is my favorite tool. I'm a free man. Thank you.
yeah, I let go of that person I thought I was, the person I didn't want to be. I don't want to be that person anymore. So let go has helped me to be who I really am, the person how my parents raised me, and they're happy because they thought I was never going to be able to change who they had accepted me already for that person I had become, and I know they weren't proud of it, but I'm their son, so obviously I'm their family, so they're going to love me. But now I see the happiness. Even though I'm in prison, they're happy now because they see who I really am. I'm that loving person, that happy person, the caring person that I've always been. I just had that mask on, and I let go of all that. That's all behind me now, and I'm just me now. And yeah, that's why it's my favorite tool.
Let go is probably the one that I like the most and what I use the most because most of my life I've had issues with grabbing onto things and not letting go. And this is something a process that I can use to let things go and don't let them bother me as much.
I like let go, being able to let go of all my stuff in the past, not letting it hold me down no more.
Everybody's talked about letting things go in the past, but actually now we know how to actually use it as a tool, and it puts things in a whole different light, and it actually improves our quality of life in here. Because
favorite tool is let go. It's a very hard tool for me. In the past, I used to get mad at everything, right? I couldn't see past anything. Somebody would make a little noise and it just irritate me, and I couldn't let that go. But GOGI has taught me to look past that and let go of the small things. Like, for example, say you have a cell and he's just making a dumb noise on his bunk or something, it irritates me, right? It used to. Now, it kind of doesn't, so now I'm just looking past it, and it's a good tool to have.
GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company.
Hi, my name is Juan Zuniga. I'm a face of GOGI, and also my favorite tool is What If. Not only does it give me perspective on all the possibilities that I have to make the choice, either a good one or a positive one, but it also holds me accountable, not being my past anymore. I can become a better person now with these tools, especially with this one, because it gives me perspective and holds me accountable for not doing what I used to do before. So that's my favorite tool.
Hi, my name is Jay Henderson, and I'm the face of GOGI. My favorite tool is What If. I like What If because it gives you the opportunity to basically put things in perspective that you usually wouldn't put in perspective. For instance, I sit back and I sit in this position when I'm sitting in my cell and I think, what if I had chose to hang around different individuals? What if I had chose more positive influences? What if I had listened to my mother's words? What if I had allowed myself to put more effort and time into doing schoolwork? You know what I mean? Maybe things would have turned out differently. So that's really one of my favorite schools and principles to go by. And it says, no to the past and yes to the future. And a lot of times when I'm sitting in my cell, I'm always dwelling on the past. You know what I mean? To the point it eats me up. It's like, man, I'm doing too much what if. Too much what if could kill you. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying, like, if I had done this, if I had did this, and this, things would have been different. I get to the point where I dwell too much on it that I forget about the future, that I have a future. So the principles of what if is no to the past, yes to the future. So nowadays in my life, I'm saying yes to the future. And that's thanks to GOGI.
my favorite tool is What If, because part of the reason I'm actually here is I would always get stuck in the past in my life. You know, it would drag me down. It would drag me into old habits, at all times. And reading that tool, it was like a switch, you know, realizing that I need to focus on my future. You know, my past is a part of me, and it can inform my decisions, but it doesn't have to dictate my decisions. And to just keep looking towards the future, and then use boss of my brain to keep moving forward.
Guess what? We've really scored. Remember I told you that we were going to get a warden interview? Maybe. We were crossing our fingers on that. Well, guess what? We have an interview with a warden. In fact, not just any warden, with Warden Spearman of High Desert State Prison, who he asked us if we would come up and bring the GOGI program to High Desert when he was transferred here. We came, we packed our bags, and here we are at High Desert. He wants to ask us some questions. Can you imagine that? So, right now, we're going to cut to our interview with Warden Spearman.
How are you, Coach Taylor?
I am so awesome, and I know you haven't eaten. You've been on the facilities. I see you go from one housing unit to the next, one building to the next. I just have to say that you are so amazingly devoted to your occupation, to your skills, and building them with these men. And I'm just so grateful that you asked GOGI to be here. We consider it an honor, and I know you have 1,000,001 things to do, so it's even more of an honor that you would give us this time with you on camera, so thank you.
You're welcome.
I love being here at High Desert. It's awesome because we have 4 yards that are actively programming GOGI, but 4 yards that are very, very different. Now, I know you had some questions with regard to that, like you aren't in the trenches with us every day as we're handing out GOGI assignments or picking them up. What kind of questions would you have as a warden as to what's going on with your GOGI?
Well, I was just wondering kind of what is the response of the population here on all the, maybe we'll start with Alpha Yard. Has there been a good response, or are people apprehensive, and what kind of programs do you have going on in Alpha Yard?
Okay, well, I think at first they were curious, and after 1 or 2 guys did the courses, some of the courses, they told their friends. And of course, the motivation to get a certificate in a chrono is the impetus to start it.
Yes, it is.
But now we have like awesome leaders. In fact, custody, which they aren't mandated to do this, but custody will let some of the GOGI guys out to the little spider tables to study during the day and do their GOGI groups. And the custody officers are now finding that the GOGI students that come out and sit at the little tables to do it in the day room, they're compliant, they're respectful, they're happier, and they're earning certificates and chronos for doing either their self-study GOGI, in-cell GOGI, or our leaders who come out for our weekly leadership meetings.
Correct.
So we are so happy. We were on A-Yard yesterday, as a matter of fact. We took 3 of our leaders, we took a cart, and we distributed more than 500 books.
Oh, wow.
Yes, 500 books.
Is that the book that you gave me as a gift, the green one that says How to GOGI?
Yes.
Okay, so, 500 books. Okay.
500. So my feeling is that we had at least 490 people open that book up last night and start to read.
Well, that's good to hear.
It's very, very great.
Help these guys make some positive decisions in their lives.
So I would say that we probably have 400 men on A-Yard engaged in GOGI in some level.
Okay.
And the talk on the yard, everybody's talking GOGI.
Oh, that is very good to hear. I'm glad. I appreciate you guys taking a chance on us up at High Desert up here on this mountain and coming up here to help us out.
Well, honestly, if you want the honest truth, when you told me you were going to High Desert and you said, "Are you up there?" I said, "No way." And I remember you said, "Well, why not?" I said, "Oh, man, I don't know. I don't think they program. I don't think they like programming." And you said, "Well, I'm headed up there." And I said, "Okay, Warden, if you're there, GOGI's there." Because I knew if we had you as a warden here, if we had the kind of support that you've always given us, we would have a winning thing. So I placed all my bets and I won.
No, you did.
Yeah, High Desert now is our #2 institution for the number of chronos in the past 2 years, surpassed only by Pleasant Valley. Pleasant Valley has 4 IL tags and about 600 guys doing GOGI.
Wow. Okay.
But we will surpass them at High Desert. Not that we don't want Pleasant Valley to succeed, but High Desert, we will be surpassed. You went from position 0,
Correct.
35, to position number 2 inside of 12 months.
That is excellent. Yeah, I worked at Pleasant Valley. It's always been a premier prison, but we are also our premier prison, and so our population will respond and come along.
Absolutely.
Out in B, our Bravo facility, a little
Yeah.
different, dying at level 4 S&Y. Are they interested also?
Incredible interest. In fact, more people are doing in-housing unit GOGI on B than anywhere else.
Wow.
You have more small groups being popped out for the spider tables
Okay.
on B.
On B.
Incredible. And you've got some really solid leadership who really hold all the GOGI members accountable to a very, very high standard. So they check all the work. No, we are not submitting that to GOGI. That is not good enough. Go back and do it again. So they are really holding everyone up to a high standard. When we finally pick up the courses and we do our final review,
Yes.
B Yard, we don't send anything back.
Wow.
Everything from B Yard is spot on. The men are holding each other accountable at an extremely high level, which is cool.
Well, that's good to hear. And again, as if the men on B Yard, my men on B Yard see this, I want to tell you guys thank you, and you guys should be proud of yourselves for making those accomplishments. And I, as a warden, are proud of those men for doing that on B Yard.
Yeah, it's cool. And C Yard,
Yeah, how's C Yard?
surprising enthusiasm. Now, unfortunately, they have not been able to meet as a leadership team for about 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So our leaders have not met, but the interest in the cores, in the cells, and in the housing units, extremely strong. You've had a lot. In fact, in-cell has been your strongest on C Yard.
On C Yard, okay.
Yeah, so C Yard has been doing the most book reports, but, you know, they need that leadership. So we're looking forward to getting regular ILTAG meetings, but your leaders are emerging in the face of a lot of obstacles. No day room, no materials, no ILTAG support, no weekly meetings.
Correct.
They're still resilient, saying, we don't care, we're going to keep doing this, which is really a testament to their commitment to really make some changes. Because I think C has the greatest obstacles of all your 4 yards. They have the greatest obstacles.
Okay, well, we'll continue to work with our community resource manager to get an actual ILTAG sponsor over there.
Yes.
And then get that going back to there. Because I know we're trying to mirror Facility D with C and having the in-building program. And I know Facility, we're going to come to Delta here in a minute, but we weren't able to do that because of certain things, but because of their yard schedule.
Right,
but if we have enough interest in it, we'd like to. But if we don't have enough interest for in-building, we'll just continue to foster and facilitate in-cell GOGI.
Well, we met and we actually worked with your leaders on C. We actually took them into one of the old chow halls that are now being, and we said, okay, this is what we look for. This is how you look at the work. This is what we process. And they said, you guys do all this? We said, yes, volunteers do all this. Till late at night, till 11 o'clock at night, we're doing this. We said, wow, that's a lot of work. So we train them what to look for. So when they get their leadership meetings, they know exactly what to tell the men. Because, of course, without leadership, we're having to send back a lot of stuff.
Correct.
We need this done, we need this done. But once your leadership is solid there, I really do think you're going to have an extremely strong group. Your leaders are, they will not give up. They're not going to, no, they're GOGI for life.
Oh,
they're not going to give up. They're patient and they're not whining about it. They're just saying, okay, we need this, we want this. What can we do in the interim? That's why your in-cell studies, your numbers on in-cell are high on C.
High on C facility. Well, that's good to hear that. And yet, trust me, guys, she does. I get emails late at night.
Yes, you do.
On Saturdays, Sundays. Coach Taylor truly is in the GOGI and making High Desert successful and giving us information. So, believe me that, she is up late at night correcting papers and those kind of things and sending emails to the warden.
Yes, I am. But you also have answered some late night emails too.
Yes,
so
I
we're
have.
both down for High Desert men.
Yes, we are. We're here to help these men be better people and know that they can positively program at the prison. And again, I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
And now we drift over to our Delta facility, which had the in-building. We know there was a few roadblocks because they went to an expanded yard, which they had requested of us. And I know that Captain Zampano and his team was able to get that reinstated, I think 3 weeks ago, our in-building and so forth. So how are those guys doing when the last time your visit was here?
Well, I think they too miss their leadership meetings. It's like having a bunch of guys with a lot of tools, but not having the instructor to teach you how to use them.
Correct.
We do need our leaders meeting once a week. They aren't meeting either. So, but it's okay because they're still resilient. They're still doing their in-buildings. We're sending a lot of stuff back that we need redone because they don't have that steerage. They don't have the leadership that is kind of at the foundation of the success. They don't have that peer support. But once we get those weekly meetings up, they're all doing GOGI. Everybody there is doing GOGI.
Well, they are.
Yeah, yes. They're all doing it in cell and in their small meetings anytime they can.
Well, that
they
is good.
hunger for the leadership.
Well, hunger for leadership.
Yes,
so we got to get
yes.
that leadership meeting going back.
Yes,
We'll work
yes.
with Captain Zampano on that.
Yes.
And then last, I'll ask you as far as before you kind of ask me some questions is how is it going in Z Unit? I know our facility Z Unit, Dr. McIntosh and you talked and she introduced that into that short-term restrictive housing. Has there been any interest there with the guys there?
We are returning 3 completed courses to Z Unit guys. Anybody from Z Unit can do GOGI. In fact, anyone anywhere can do GOGI.
Correct.
We don't have any restriction. So anybody can write to the CRM at 22 saying, I want GOGI. Anybody at High Desert, and in most prisons now, they can write to the CRM and ask either for in-cell, small group, or the ILTAG. And yeah, we welcome them.
I got you. Well, that's a population that kind of we want to make sure that they don't get left out at all. So we've even kind of put our transitions class in there for 12 guys in there. So with the GOGI in there, helping people make positive changes, belly breathing, learning different techniques and so forth to make positive decisions. And then with our transitions, we hope to have that population really kind of come around, and hopefully our Z Unit short-term restricted housing population will decrease as people, can program positively.
Right. Well, at some point, maybe our next visit or the visit after that, I'd love to go door to door at Z and just enroll them. Just get them going. So wherever they go after that, they get to take their GOGI with them.
That might be a good thing because a lot of times when people are in segregated housing, they kind of get into a certain routine and kind of maybe even sometimes give up on themselves.
Yeah.
And so it'd be nice for you guys to go in there and just say, no, here's what you need to do, get them back focused, and then hopefully they'll sign up and take advantage of GOGI.
Well, I know I've told you that our strongest leaders came out of Pelican Bay D Unit, SHU.
Oh, okay.
Strongest leaders.
Strongest leaders come out
because
of
they had
SHU.
the most time to study the material.
Yeah, they are a captivated audience, so they can study.
Yeah. When you have time to really work on the material, you realize how powerful these tools are.
Correct.
So the Z Unit guys, they have time to focus on, wow, how can I use this tool to make me the best man or best woman that I can be? Anybody that's kind of away from all the drama, they have an awesome opportunity to make all sorts of corrections and emerge as a new person.
A new person.
Yeah, doing things the GOGI way.
The GOGI, that's good. How, in closing off Delta Yard and so forth, have you had much interaction with your GOGI, the GOGI NA group at all? Anything information on that, or is it you're still in the opening stages?
I don't know, and I don't know who's running it, but we do encourage anybody who's doing NA or AA to integrate the GOGI tools into their meeting.
Okay.
In fact, actually, any group. Our vets group here has integrated GOGI. We want to supply this information to any group doing anything.
Correct.
Anybody who wants to do GOGI integrated into what you're doing, we'll be more than happy to support you in that.
I got you. And how is, I think you guys are putting together something for the GOGI Veterans book off of Facility B. Is that moving along?
It's so awesome. The GOGI vets actually looked at the GOGI tools and how could these tools help them be a better soldier,
correct,
better civilian once they return to civilian life.
To our communities.
And if they've committed a crime and if they're doing time, wherever it is, how can they integrate what they know as a military service person and utilizing the GOGI tools to be a leader in their new community? We'll take that all day long. It's called Winning the War Within.
Winning the War Within. Well, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate that.
Yeah, and your vets on A and B have been instrumental in contributing to that.
Well, that's good. I appreciate those guys help with that.
Yeah.
Got some good guys here who are here to do the right thing and assist GOGI and help it to continue on, and for High Desert to be the flagship and move Pleasant Valley kind of the second
you want to be
place.
position one.
Position one.
I think we'll get more than 2,000 completions by the end of the year.
Okay.
And I think we're well on track to meet some pretty serious goals.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that I appreciate you guys taking a chance on us and actually coming up. I know it's a long drive and flight for you guys.
Yes,
lot
it is.
Lot involved with it, but
Yes, it is.
Again, to me, it was worth it.
Yes,
And
big time.
you guys have made some major changes, and our population now is seeing how they can make better decisions.
Yeah.
When things come upon them in prison, and also as they're preparing to reintegrate back into society.
Yeah, I remember at one of the graduations you said that you want them to be good neighbors.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I want them to be a very good neighbor. Because again, I have family members all throughout California and so forth. So if they're around my family members at, different, recreational activities, if they go to college around my family members, or if they're out having dinner, or whatever the case is, we want them to be able to have a skill set to make, positive decisions and so forth as they interface and get back into society.
Absolutely. So you tell them that you want them to be a good neighbor, and I further that by saying they are the solution. The problem in their communities, they represent what could be the solution.
Oh, they do. Okay.
So when they go home and they become a good neighbor, that is being the solution. And if they utilize their tools, they're going to be home free and keep their freedom internally and externally.
And externally.
Yes.
Well, that's good to see.
I'm so grateful you gave us your time. It's just so wonderful. I know you've got a busy day. You'll be here probably 15, 16 hours. You're here 15, 16 hours every day of the week. And if the men only knew how much time you invested and how much you cared about their success, I think you wouldn't have not one 115 on this,
That's right.
this institution.
Well, that is our goal, to reduce 115s,
Absolutely.
to reduce incidences,
Yes.
and to reduce appeals.
Yes.
And just get everybody here to come here, because you and I have talked before. I think probably 85 to 90% of our offender population in most prisons, including here, everybody just wants to come here and just do their time.
Right.
And then we expose them to GOGI,
Right.
to where they can learn those positive tools, to be successful and to program successfully in prison and to
Right.
get back outside and so forth. And the other 10%, they're kind of kicking and screaming, but we're going to drag them in. We're going to drag them into the fold with everybody else.
Absolutely.
Do you have any questions of me? And I've kind of asked you some questions. You have any
No,
questions of
Warden,
me?
you're just awesome. We really appreciate you. You've supported us from the very beginning. You get the vision that we want these individuals to be home and be very good next door neighbors. You get that?
Yeah.
You support it and you encourage it among the men, and for that we're very grateful.
Well, again, I'm grateful and thankful to you guys for taking a chance again. I'm saying it again, on High Desert, the prison, had a reputation of being a pretty rough level 4 prison. It is a maximum security prison, but I've seen the offender population change, where our violence is down across the board, and our incidents are down.
Great.
Of course, we do have things that take place, unfortunately, because it is a maximum security prison.
Right.
But I think for the most part, most people have kind of understood that between you coming here and then my support of them to be better men and make better decisions, that people are actually, I'll say drank the Kool-Aid, and they're actually doing the right thing. And that's what we're looking for.
And that's why we're getting the emails from the family saying, thank you, I have my husband back,
Yes.
or I've got my dad back, or I can't believe this is the man, he's wonderful. That's the kind of feedback we're getting on our Facebook page, on our emails, and our phone calls, is gratitude from the family for the work that's being done.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. So we're being successful.
Yes.
And that's the main thing. We're going to be successful here at this prison.
Yeah, for sure. So we're going to be back next month, and we're going to catch up on seeing our men, letting them screen some of their graduation footage, which we will probably include in one of our e-learning courses. So you guys are going to be superstars.
Yes, they will be.
Thank you very much.
Especially with all of your energy that you put into it. They're going to be.
They're not going to fail. There's no way.
That's right. One thing I'll say to them, because they're going to be looking at this, is failure is not an option.
No, it's not.
It's not an option. So if you're going to be at High Desert, you're going to be a man, and you're going to take advantage of GOGI and any other rehabilitative services to be successful.
Success has never been easier than it is right now.
That's good. It's gonna stay that way.
Yes, for sure.
One last question I'll ask you. The tone of kind of let me know. We've talked about it. Most of the custody officers on most of the facilities in there. How is their kind of take and interaction with you guys with GOGI and your?
Okay, when I first came here in 2015, it was rough.
Okay.
It was really rough, and then person by person by person by person, they started seeing the benefits of the programming or the benefits of a different way of communication. Now I've got to say 99% of your custody, awesome supporters of programming. And now they are saying, well, this guy could be my neighbor.
Correct.
I've got to invest in him understanding. Your custody is superior. Superior. And I've said emails just like that to headquarters to say the custody, the environment of custody is now so supportive of getting these individuals to be the very best they can be.
Okay. Well, that is good
Isn't
to
that
hear.
cool?
That is cool and good to hear. And I know,
Yeah.
again, like you've shared with me and all the custody stuff, GOGI is kind of a custody tool. And so
Yes,
forth.
it is a
so
tool.
I think our staff have embraced it. And again, like I taught, when I teach in the off-post training, like I taught today, we have the ISB number for many of your GOGI books.
Yes,
And some of our staff have actually ordered some of the books. And
Great.
some of our staff also, you have given me a few of the How to GOGI book, and I've actually given it to staff. So they can, and some people say they're using some of the concepts, to help them out as they navigate around the prison and,
Right.
interface with, one another and with our offender population here.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of cool. We're
It's- yeah.
changing things, getting it going the GOGI way.
Getting it going the GOGI way.
Thank you very much, Warden.
Well, thank you, Coach Taylor.
Appreciate
and
it.
anytime you want to talk to me, just feel free to commandeer me and say, hey, we want to talk to you.
Okay. Wonderful.
All right.
Hey, did you get that? We got an exclusive interview with the warden. I am so excited, and you get to be the first to see it. I'm really, really happy and proud of what we're doing at High Desert, but not just High Desert. GOGI is blowing up everywhere, and you are a part of it. Do your assignments, fill in every line, turn in your course book, get your credit, and then keep going. Because remember, it takes 10,000 times to repeat anything before you're an expert. And we want you to be an expert at being a good neighbor, an expert at making positive decisions, and we want you to live your life the GOGI way. Thanks for watching.
GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company.
As far as reality check, we were talking about it yesterday. We had a good discussion yesterday. And you can't lose sight of the progress, We're professionals at self-destructing in this course, this GOGI course. And getting the tools, talking to people like yourself, and then talking amongst the population and reminding ourselves, you make so much progress. We're all human. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to slide back every once in a while. Catch yourself. Check yourself. Reality check yourself. You're doing all right. You've probably made way more progress than you realize, and get back on that track. We talked yesterday a lot about, not only repeating it over and over so that it becomes something that you remember to do, but also listening to those around you, since we're all doing this together. Somebody helps you get a reality check, learn to listen to that support and help it get on. So.
My favorite tool is reality check. Reality check helped me realize that all the mistakes that I make, no matter what, I'm a human being. And we all make mistakes, so no matter what your background looks like, you can always overcome it with doing positive stuff. I was lost at one point in my life, and all the tools, as I worked them and applied them, they helped me regain self-control and confidence in myself so I could overcome stuff, set short goals in my life, so that way I could build strength and confidence and know that I can do something better with my life than to value the wrong things that I was valuing back in the days. Like gangs, drugs, my criminal activity. Now I learned to value my family, my daughter, my freedom, my life, and I just keep continuing with GOGI. It's GOGI for life for me.
There's one thing I'd like to just say on the reality check in the book, the Spider book I wrote at the end, and at the very end of it, it asked you, and I just said, what I leave behind is 2 steps back.
My favorite tool is reality check. 10 steps forward, 2 steps back. I'm still 8 steps forward. I used to struggle with that because I would just give it all in once I messed up. And now that I have this tool, I keep moving forward, get back on track, and keep it going. even through all the mess ups I've done, everything I've done, I've always come back to GOGI, and it's helped me out a lot.
GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company, this I got the tools to live by. GOGI, GOGI, GOGI Company.
I like all the tools, but the one I like right now is ultimate freedom. Being free is up to me are the key words. And I've been incarcerated a big part of my life, so I gave up my choice of being free in that sense. And it took a long time to find internal freedom. Even being locked up, it makes it a little harder. So, but through GOGI, I have found quite a bit of internal freedom using the other positive tools. All in concert. They all are things that I was taught when I was little but forgot how to use. And so now relearning them is a very good experience. I'm really enjoying it. I enjoy GOGI. I enjoy doing it in groups and helping other people. And people can have internal freedom even if they're incarcerated. Absolutely.
My favorite tool is ultimate freedom because I do really want to serve others. I mean, I think that before I served myself, I only cared about Tommy DeLuna. I didn't really care about helping others, and I didn't like that aspect of my life. I didn't like who I was back then. I think this gives me an opportunity to become a better person. And I think it's the 12th tool, so by the time you get there, you should have the other ones down pat. So that's why I like it too. It's the last one. It's like, okay, if I can get to that one, then I should have all the other ones down. And so it's kind of like the ultimate freedom, I think. And of course, ideally we want to be free, not just physically, but emotionally, and I think that really helps us.